Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ghanatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Pranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Guranavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Praptasya Kalyana Guranavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nritya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Vaditra Madhyam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shri Vigrahara Dhana Nityanana Shringaratanma Niramajanado Shri Vigrahara Dhana Nityanana Shringaratanma Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad Prasada Satanna Triptan Hari Bhakta Shanga Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad Prasada Satanna Triptan Kridvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shradikama Bhavayarapara Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namna Shradikama Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Swa Dhanalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Pratikshana Swa Dhanalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Ne Kunjayono Ratikari Siddhai Jajali Bhir Juktir Apekshaniya Nikunjayuna Radhikari Siddhai Jajali Bhir Juktir Apekshaniya Tatrati daksha ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Pratik Sakjat Haritena Shamasta Shastri Uktas Tatha Bhavyataiva Sadhabhi Sakyadaritena Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yayam Stuvam Stasya Yasastin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Yayam Stuvam Stasya Yasastin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Yayam Stuvam Stasya Yasastin Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namah Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hariyaye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaya Kesavaye Namah Gopal Govindaram Shimadhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shirupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. जय विश्वपार परम प्रभाजकाचार्य श्री सरस्वती श्रीनाथ इस्कॉन प्रतिष्ठा विभूति सांस्तवकाचार्य वैष्णव शिरोमणि गौर प्रियजन कृष्ण प्रेम भक्ति दाता पतित पावन His divine grace अभोचरविन भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शील प्रभुपाद जी की जय श्री गौरी गुरु वर्गापति उद्धार की जय श्री रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भक्त दास गुण सत गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय नामाचार्य शील हरिदास ठाकुर जी की जय जयनंत कोच वैष्णवृंद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जना का प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद स्मरण गौरंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महाप्रणाय अवतार की जय गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय Yoga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Bhrihad Nidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopina Radha Kund Syama Kund Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrajabam Vrindavan Mathurudham ki jai. Delosh Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai. Shri Maya Purnavadip Ek Chakradham ki jai. Parama Karuna Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Purushottama Ketra Jagannath Puridham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Shrimati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan ki jai. भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कर श्रृंगरे भगवान की जय जगंगा माई जमुना माई की जय तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय बोलो श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय समवेत भक्तबिंद की जय निताय गौरी प्रमानंदी हरिबो all glories to somebody bodies all glories to somebody bodies all glories to somebody bodies all glories all glories all glories Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Haribo Gauranga
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya
Praladadadayine
Praladadadayine
Hiranyakashipudakshaha Shrilatanka Nakalaye
Jaya Silatanka Nakalaye Parata Nisingam
Yato yato yami tato nasimha.
Jaya Jatta Jatta Jami Tato Nisingam
Nasimha Rodaye Nasimha.
Baye Nisinga Rudaye Nisinga
Narasimha
Narasimha
Made
Nirvana Prapade Abakara Kamalabare Enaka Parvata Singa Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanabenga Kesavadita Narariyopa Jai Jagadisha Jai Jagadisha Jai Jagadisha
Keshavadita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re
Jaya Kesavadita Naranirupa Jai Jagadisha Re Jaya Jagadisha Re Jai Jagadisha Re
Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Narasimha Dev
Jaya Nisingare Jaya Nisingare Nisingare Jaya Nisingare
Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad
Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad
Nitya Gara Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gara Hari Bol
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol जय श्री श्री भक्ति पथ सर्व विघ्ना विनाशना कनिष्ठिंकरे भगवान की जय जय भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज की जय निताय गौरी प्रमानंदे हरि 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 बोल Shri Vrindai Tulasi Debai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satavatai Namo Namaha Vrindai Tulasi Debai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Shatabhataya Namo Namaha. Brindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Shatabhataya Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki.
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha.
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vilasi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilashi
Radha Krishna Seva Prabha Eya Vilasi.
Je tomara sharan loy tara vancha purna hoy
Je tomara sharanala tara vancha purna.
kripa kori karo tare vrindavanavasi
Tumi kripa kori karatare Vrindavanavasi.
Moraeya Vilas Vilas Kunja Diyavan
Moraeya Vilas Vilas Kunja Diyavan.
Nayane Haribo Sada Yogala Ruparasi
Aminayane Niva Sada Jogala Ruparasi.
E Nivedana Daro Sakiranu Gata Koro
E Nivedana Dhara Sakirano Gata Kara.
Sevadi Karo Diye Koro Nijadasi
Sevayadi Kara Diye Kara Nijadasi.
Dina Krishna Das ko ye namora hoy
Krishna Krishna Dase Koi Eye Namora.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada ye nabasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Inavasi.
Radha Govinda Preme Sada ye nabasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Inavasi.
कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
कानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
तानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
तानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Vibhai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Vibhai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय। I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you, his wishes fulfilled. Bestowing your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavadams of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always see me love Shri Radha and Govind, Srimati Tulsi Maharani, Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikrastakam ki jai. Chaito Darpana Majanam Bhava Madhavagni Nivapanam Shri Akariva Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadu Jivanam Anandam Bodhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnam Daswaranam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Akari Vaudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Ita Dusitava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam Idishamya Jani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Savishnuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Na Dhanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitam Vajagari Shakamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatar Bhakti Raituki Tvai Oyi Nandatanu Jakinkaram Paritamam Vishame Bhambudho Kripaya Tapapada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galora Shrudharaya Vadanam Gadagadarudhaya Gira Pulakainchitam Vapu Kada Tavanam Agrahane Bhavisyati Juga Itam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravrisha Itam Shunya Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Asleshava Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshnan Marmahatam Karotuva Jatha Tathava Vidadhatulam Patto Matpranatastu Sa Evana Para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kristakam ki jai. Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurati Shinma Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Viranta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Strunyavadi Patsatyadi Satarine. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditioned life or repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can rain the old benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause that devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I am falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? Or will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 20 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he sandals me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikyastakam Ki Jai. Krishna There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, our Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic law, all the scriptures of the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some
interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruit of activities of karma kanda. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and therefore compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripasindubhyevcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali Srimati Bhaktivedanta Smartana Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Vajrayani Visesa Namaskar. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganya Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Bilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Purustam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Pajakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagratam Sahaguna Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saivaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Visakara Vitam Sa Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamini Shivasavana Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruta Pa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gora Kishoraya Sakshat Vajragya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitanandanamine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Virbhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Sri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Tirubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurutase Namaha Panchatattvatpakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Vihisevamano Smarami Shiman Rasara Saran Bivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswaner Gopir Gopinatak Striyeshtuna Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Brahmasamita Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radha Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chentamani Prakara Sadmasakalpa Riksha Laksa Vrite Suravir Abhipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govinda Amadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Madhyavam Siratnam Gedam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Sharmam Jibanga Lalitanya Taprakasam Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendri Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiran Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adhyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vede Sadurlavam Adurlavam Atma Bhakto Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Satavatsara Sampragam Yova Yoratapi Manaso Munipungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasim Yavichinti Tatve Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Jayatam Jagadanda Kotim Yes Chakti Rasti Jagadanda Jaya Yadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Jayanta Rastam Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajesta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusa Suktarya Mevan Digama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Patibhavita Bhistabir Yaiva Rupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatista Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabhapavato Jagadanda Koti Kotis Vasesa Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Sesa Bhutam Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Yahi Yasha Jagadanda Satani Sute Trigun Yatad Visai Veda Vitaya Manam Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattva Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Ananda Chinmayara Satmataya Manasu Yaprani Nam Patifilam Smaratam Upetya Lilaya Tena Bhuvanani Jaya Jasra Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Goloka Namni Nichidamni Tade Chitasya Devi Maheswari Damas Tesu Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vitasya Yena Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Shististati Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Chaye Vyasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Apyasya Chitesta Tesa Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Shiram Yata Divikara Visesha Yoga Sanjaya Tena Itata Pritakasti Hetu Yasam Bhutama Pitata Samapaitikariat Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Departure Vita Santar Mabhyapetya Dipaya Tevi Vita Hetu Samanu Dharma Yastadra Gevi Vishnu Tayamivati Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yakarna Narna Vajali Badichismo Nidramananta Chakadanda Saruma Kopa Adhara Sakti Mavalamya Param Samurtim Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yashyaika Nisvasita Kalamatavalamya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagannatha Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalabi Sesa Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalation Jesu Tejas Sriyamki Yat Prakatayat Abitad Pratatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidandu Karta Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidai Kumbha Dwande Pranama Samayesa Kanadi Raja Vignan Vihanta Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Agni Mahika Ganamambu Muruti Sascha Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sagalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayasta Pamsi Brahma Dikita Patagava Tehasta Jiva Yadata Mata Vibhava Prakada Prabhava Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yatvinder Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandan Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nitahati Kinchicha Bhakti Bhaja Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajamyam Krodha Kama Saja Pranadi Bitti Vatsalya Moha Gorgora Vasavya Bhava Sanchincha Tasha Sadrisintanam Apurete Govinda Mahadi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Dramabu Mishchintamani Kanama Itoyam Amritam Kata Ganam Natyam Gamanam Apivansi Priyasaki Chiranandam Jati Param Apitad Aswatyam Apichasa Yatra Shiradi Bihisravati Shirabi Vyascha Sumahan Nimesa Dakyuva Rajitina Hiya Tripi Samaya Bajay Sritad Vipam Tamaham Iya Golakamityam Vidantaste Santakshriti Viracharakati Paye Guru Vastika prayers, Kijay. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who is an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing, singing and playing musical instruments. Spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. For my respectful obeisance, the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is lit, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. For my respectful obeisance, the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited consequences on erotic and Madhava, and the qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. For my respectful obeisance, not the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he's expert at assisting gopis who at different times make different tastes and arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. For my most humble obeisance, not the lotus feet is such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, for my respectful obeisance, not the lotus feet is such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavatam Grantaraja Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, verse number 7. Kridam vidate dvijago suranam. Shemaya karmanya vatara bedai. Manona tripyat api shinvatam na. Susloka shmoles charitam ritani. Kridam, manifesting pastimes. Vidate, he performs. Dvija, twice born. Go, cows. Suranam, of the demigods. Shemaya, welfare. Karmani, transcendental activities. Avatara, incarnations. Bedai, differently. Mana, mind. Na, never. Tripyati, satisfies. Api, in spite of. Shinvatam, continuously hearing. Na, hour. Su, sloka, auspicious. Mole, of the Lord. Charita, characteristics. Amritani, undying. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in His different incarnations for the welfare of the twice-born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of His transcendental activities. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord appears in this universe in different incarnations like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Nrsimha, and He manifests His different transcendental activities for the welfare of the twice-born, the cows, and the demigods. The Lord is directly concerned with the twice-born, or civilized men. A civilized man is one who has taken his birth twice. A living entity takes birth in this mundane world due to the union of male and female. A human being is born due to the union of the father and mother, but a civilized human being has another birth by contact with the spiritual master, who becomes the actual father. The father and mother of the material body are so only in one birth, and in the next birth the father and mother may be a different couple. But the bona fide spiritual master, as the representative of the Lord, is the eternal Father, because the spiritual master has the responsibility to lead the disciple to spiritual salvation, or the ultimate goal of life. Therefore, a civilized man must be twice born, otherwise he is no more than the lower animals. The cow is the most important animal for developing the human body to perfection. The body can be maintained by any kind of foodstuff, but cow's milk is particularly essential for developing the finer tissues of the human brain, so that one can understand the intricacies of transcendental knowledge. A civilized man is expected to live on foodstuffs comprising fruits, vegetables, grains, sugar, and milk. The bull helps in the agricultural process of producing grain, etc., and thus, in one sense, the bull is the father of humankind, whereas the cow is the mother, for she supplies milk to human society. A civilized man is therefore expected to give all protection to the bulls and cows. The demigods, or the living entities who live in the higher planets, are far superior to human beings. Since they have better arrangements for living conditions, they live far more luxuriously than human beings, yet they are all devotees of the Lord. The Lord incarnates in different forms, such as those of a fish, a tortoise, a hog, and a combined lion and man, just to give protection to civilized man, the cow, and the demigods, who are directly responsible for the regulative life of progressive self-realization. The whole system of the material creation is planned so that the conditioned souls may have the opportunity for self-realization. One who takes advantage of such an arrangement is called a demigod or civilized man. The cow is meant to help maintain such a high standard of living. The Lord's pastimes for the protection of the twice-born civilized men, the cows, and the demigods are all transcendental. A human being is inclined to hear good narrations and stories, and therefore there are so many books, magazines, and newspapers on the market to satisfy the interests of the developed soul. But the pleasure in such literature, after it is read once, becomes stale, and people do not take any interest in reading such literature repeatedly. In fact, newspapers are read for less than an hour and then thrown in the dustbins as rubbish. The case is similar with all other mundane literatures, but the beauty of transcendental literatures like the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is that they never become old. They have been read in the world by civilized men for the last 5,000 years, and they have never become old. They are ever fresh to the learned scholars and devotees, and even by daily repetition of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no satiation for devotees like Vidura. Vidura might have heard the pastimes of the Lord many, many times before he met Maitreya, but still he wanted the same narrations to be repeated because he was never satiated by hearing them. That is the transcendental nature of the Lord's glorious pastimes. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice-born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of his transcendental activities. Gaura Premanandi Hari Bol. So, it's not a great thing to have a mother and father. Everybody has a mother and father. The animals, the birds, the cows, the snakes. You can go down the list. So many mothers and fathers are there. However, to be twice born is a very special thing. Being twice born means you accept a bona fide spiritual master, not some upstart claiming to be spiritual master, but a spiritual master who is in a bona fide disciplic succession, like the Brahma Gaudiya Madhava Sampradaya. And the bona fide spiritual master never claims to be God. They claim always to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, who are servants of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the bona fide spiritual master teaches according to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam by repeating them correctly without adding or subtracting anything. And the spiritual master lives according to the instructions that he's teaching, according to the instructions given originally by Krishna and Narada Muni and being followed by Vaishnavas. So one begins in the Varnashrama system of Varnas and Ashramas. So when we join Krishna consciousness, we start out usually as brahmachari, brahmacharini, and so Prabhupada made a special dispensation for women. There's no such thing as a brahmacharini in traditional Vedic culture, but in order to encourage women also to take up serious advancement through regulative principles of devotional service, he also permitted women to live in the temples along with the brahmacharis, as long as they're following strictly the regulative principles. And he never discouraged marriage. He recommended marriage for those persons that wanted to be in that situation. Just like he was also married, he had 5 kids, and he raised them properly, and then when the right time came, he took sannyas. So the example of Prabhupada is very close to every one of us. Now, many of Prabhupada's godbrothers, they took sannyas at an early age and remained sannyasis their whole lives. So that's another model. Just like Narada Muni, he's an eternal brahmachari. He doesn't even take sannyas. He's an eternal brahmachari. So there are different models, but Prabhupada went through the model that the large, let's say, most people will go through. They'll eventually get married and have children and raise the children and so forth. So Prabhupada showed that at a certain point one must begin with the wife to give up attachment to home and hearth and begin to travel to different holy places and perform gradually more and more severe tapasya. And eventually, when the wife agrees, husband takes sannyas and the wife lives with the elder sons or lives in a holy place where she also practices the same type of, let's say, renunciation as her husband, but she doesn't travel. She stays mostly in one place. So this is the normal pattern of life that was followed for millions of years according to the Vedic tradition. So the Varnashram system is the beginning of spiritual life. And having these different varnas, those are social orders, and then the different ashramas, which are spiritual designations, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. The goal of the Varnashram system is to raise people up to the mode of goodness, and then to remain steady in the mode of goodness and develop Brahminical qualities. So those Brahminical qualities, there are many, but there's a summary of them in the 18th chapter, which says they are yeah. So it says Samadama tapak socham santir arjvam evacha gyanam vigyanam sahitam yajgatva santam richati. Brahma karma swabhajam, sorry. Gyanam vigyanam astikam brahma karma swabhajam. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the brahmanas work. So, but when you come to the level of brahmana, and keep that level steady, then the description is that one becomes gradually free from the influence of the modes of material nature. Okay, so when that happens, that's not the perfection of life yet, but that is getting close to it. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochiti nakanchati samaksarve sabhute sumad bhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So, if we come to this Brahmabhuta stage, it is actually a transcendental state, and one is prasanatma, is self-satisfied. But going further, one develops neutrality and equality. That means that by neutrality, one is never disturbed by anything that happens, even the worst thing or the best thing. They're never disturbed by it. And why is that? Because they see either theoretically or practically the existence of Krishna in the heart of every living entity and in every atom of the universe. So this neutrality, they have complete faith in the protection of Krishna. So they're not disturbed by anything. It can be the worst thing or the best thing. They remain steady in their devotional service. And then equality, because they see the presence of Krishna in everyone's heart, they treat everyone like a temple. A temple is a place where the deity is present. So the body is like a walking temple, whether it's an ant or a demigod or a human being. They actually don't exactly see the body of the human being or the animal. They see the relationship of the spirit soul to Krishna. So therefore, they have equality. They treat all living entities with respect. Okay, so this is the spiritual level. And when they come to that level of neutrality and equality and prasanatma, they become transcendental to the three modes of material nature. And by learning on a regular basis through Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing it every day, they become completely purified of the material conception of life. They become completely satisfied by spiritual life. They have no longer any hankerings for material sense gratification. Therefore, it says, na sochiti na kangsati. They're no more lamenting for any loss or exhilarated by gain, and they have no hankering, material desire hankerings. So therefore, they're free, and at that point, they can become a Vaishnava. So the position of Vaishnava is very exalted. It's a special thing. And as a Vaishnava, they become totally engaged in devotional service. They are not disturbed by anything, and they continue steadily making spiritual advancement, and then they become qualified to go back to Godhead. This is the process that is what Lord Chaitanya was preaching and teaching, and what Srila Prabhupada has established for us. And if we follow it, then all our problems go away, and we have no more fear or anxiety, and with a lot of faith and confidence, we are determined to stay always engaged in devotional service. So that Prabhupada explains that. He says, this is possible to go from the Varnashram system to becoming a genuine Vaishnava. But to become a genuine Vaishnava, you have to be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master who's in the disciplic succession coming from Krishna. And like I said, the spiritual master never claims he's God. He always acts as a humble servant to the Lord. He teaches the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam as they are without changing anything, and he lives exactly according to the teaching of Krishna and the Acharyas. And he doesn't have any lust, anger, greed, and envy, madness, and illusion. Is always engaged, he or she is always engaged in devotional service, and is completely submissive to their guru, and is very, let's say, generous and loving and affectionate to the disciples. So with such a guru, Prabhupada says, but the bona fide spiritual master, as the representative of the Lord, is the eternal Father, because the spiritual master has the responsibility to lead the disciple to spiritual salvation or the ultimate goal of life. So this is the difference between the material father and the spiritual master, who's the eternal Father. In the next life, you'll have a different father and mother. And next life, you'll have another set of father and mother. But there will only be one initiating spiritual master and several Shiksha gurus, or instructing spiritual masters, and they are eternal, just like you are. Life after life, or in the spiritual world, you'll always be in the relationship with the bona fide spiritual master. And the spiritual master has the responsibility to lead the disciple to spiritual salvation or the ultimate goal of life. Therefore, a civilized man must be twice born. Otherwise, he is no more than the lower animals. So getting initiation is absolutely imperative in spiritual life in order to go from the Brahminical stage up to Vaishnava. And in the Vaishnava stage, develop pure love for Krishna and go back to Godhead. Now, there are certain things that they're very helpful to progress like that. That's why now Prabhupada starts talking about the cow. The cow is the most important animal for developing the human body to perfection. Wow. The body can be maintained by any kind of foodstuff, but cow's milk is particularly essential for developing the finer tissues of the human brain so that one can understand the intricacies of transcendental knowledge. A civilized man is expected to live on foodstuffs comprising fruits, vegetables, grains, sugar, and milk. The bull helps in the agricultural process of producing grain, etc., and thus, in one sense, the bull is the father of humankind, whereas the cow is the mother, for she supplies milk to human society. A civilized man is therefore expected to give all protection to the bulls and cows. Now, I know from my own personal experience, and this is like at least 10 years I've been taking care of cows, and trying my best to protect them, and it is the most fulfilling type of engagement when you're in the association of the cows. You're petting them, you're brushing them, and bathing them, and feeding them, and in every way being kind and gentle with the cows. It is an exhilarating experience. Now, this was a fine art that the gopis had evolved and were very expert at. And there's a very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 6th chapter, 19th verse, that says, Yasoda rohini byam ta samam balasya sarvata raksham vidadire samyak go pucha brahman adibihi. Thereafter, Mother Yasoda and Rohini, along with the other elderly gopis, waved about the switch of a cow to give full protection to the child Shri Krishna. So when Krishna, I think this is the episode where Putana tried to kill him, and then he of course, killed her, but to purify Krishna from being touched by the demon, the gopis were expert at this. And now what you're going to hear, this is real culture. This is real child care. When Krishna was saved from such a great danger, Mother Yasoda and Rohini were principally concerned, and the elder gopis, who were almost equally concerned, followed the activities of Mother Yasoda and Rohini. Here we find that in household affairs, ladies could take charge of protecting a child simply by taking help from the cow. Simply by taking help from the cow. As described here, they knew how to wave about the switch of a cow so as to protect the child from all types of danger. Now, the switch of a cow is some part of the tail, some special part of the tail, right? So the gopis knew about this, and people have forgotten this now. So there are so many facilities afforded by cow protection, but people have forgotten these arts. These are arts. The importance of protecting cows is therefore stressed by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Grishi go raksharavani jyam vaishya karma swabhavajam. Even now in the Indian villages surrounding Vrindavana, the villagers live happily simply by giving protection to the cows. They keep cow dung very carefully and dry it to use as fuel. They keep a sufficient stock of grains, and because of giving protection to the cows, they have sufficient milk and milk products to solve all economic problems. Simply by giving protection to the cow, the villagers live so peacefully. Even the urine and stool of cows have medicinal value. That's a fact. I know one devotee who has diabetes. He is managing his diabetes by drinking a small amount of urine every day from the cow, and he gets it fresh every morning. You mix the urine with water and you drink it. And when it's fresh cow urine, it has a nice salty taste. It does not taste bad. So when it sits for a long time, it might change its taste. That's why they distill the cow urine. But the best thing is to drink it fresh. And several times, whenever I get the chance, I drink it directly as the cow is peeing, and it's a nice salty taste. It's not bad at all. Okay, so go mutrasna paitva punar go rajasarbakam raksham chaksrus chasakrita dvada sange sunama bihi. The child was thoroughly washed with cow urine and then smeared with the dust raised by the movements of the cow. Then different names of the Lord were applied with cow dung on 12 different parts of his body. This is Krishna's body as a baby. Beginning with the forehead, as done in applying tilaka. In this way, the child was given protection. So this is the art that the gopis had of protecting children so that they grow up to be healthy and happy and protected by the mercy of the Lord. So here, when the cow was born, they don't use formaldehyde or any chemical to wash the body of the cow. They wash the body of the cow with urine, fresh cow urine, then smear it with the dust raised by the movements of the cow's hoofs. Then different names of the Lord were applied with cow dung. So instead of putting tilak, they put cow dung on the 12 parts of the body. And then beginning with the forehead, as done in implying tilaka. In this way, the child was given protection. Then gopyam spar sprista salila angesu karayo pritak nasa mani atabalasya bija nyasam akurvata. The gopis first executed the process of achamana, drinking a sip of water from the right hand. They purified their bodies and hands with the nyasa mantra, and then applied the same mantra upon the body of the child. So this nyasa mantra includes performing achamana, or first drinking a sip of water kept in the right hand. There are different Vishnu mantras to purify the body. The gopis, and in fact any householders, knew the process for being purified by chanting Vedic hymns. The gopis executed this process first by purifying themselves and then to purify the child Krishna. One executes the process of anga nyasa and kara nyasa. Anga means the different parts of the body, simply by drinking a little sip of water and chanting the mantra. Om apavitra pavitra va sarvagvastam gatopi va yasmarit pundarikaksam savabhyantara suchi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. The mantra is preceded with the first letter of the name, followed by anusvara and the word nama. Om namo jas tavar gangri avyat mammano manimams tavad januni avyat, and so on. By losing Indian culture, Indian householders have forgotten how to execute the anga nyasa and are simply busy in sense gratification without any advanced knowledge of human civilization. So then the whole process of doing this anga nyasa is explained here in this verse, 10th chapter, 10th canto, 6th chapter, 22nd to 23rd verse, with the mantras. These were used by the gopis to purify the body of Krishna in ancient times, and it was followed rather strictly by most mothers in India until modern times and British education has broken the whole system, unfortunately. Maybe there are still some people doing this, but it has been broken for the mass of people. So, therefore, these mantras are said. Avyat ajo nikri manimams tavagjan abatoru yagyo chuta katitatam Jataram Hayasya Rit Keshavas Tvad Ura Isa Inas Tukatam Vishnur Bhujam Mukam Urukrama Ishwarakam, and so forth. And it's basically, it says, may the Lord protect the legs of the child. And Lord Manimam, protect the knees. And thereafter, the thighs, Yajna, and Lord Yagya, Achyuta, Katitatam, the upper part of the waist, Jataram, abdomen, and so forth. So the names of Krishna are given like Hayagriva, Keshava, Vishnu, Ishwara, and so forth, and applied to different parts of the body of the child. And then Sukadeva Goswami informs Maharaj Pariksit that the gopis, following the proper system of mantras, after taking achamana, or purification of water, then saying these different mantras and applying the mantra on different parts of the body of the child, then they say Aja, which is mystic power that bewilders, or Maya, protect your legs, and Manimam, your knees, and Yagya, your thighs, and so forth, as you already said. And eventually, once they finish all those mantras and apply it to different parts of the body, then Indrani Hrishikesha Pranam Narayano Vatu Swate Sweta Dvipa Patischittam Mano Yogeshwaro Vatu. May Hrishikesha protect your senses, and Narayana your life air. May the master of Sweta Deepa protect the core of your heart, that means Kshirodakshay Vishnu, and may Lord Yogeswara protect your mind. So it keeps going on. There are many more mantras, and eventually it says, from the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navyovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who is the original person, non-dual, infallible, and without beginning. Although he expands into unlimited forms, he is still the original, and although he is the oldest person, he always appears as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, and all-knowing forms of the Lord cannot be understood by the academic wisdom of the Vedas, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. So simply reading the Vedas, you will not understand Krishna. And that sounds like a shocking revelation, but it's a fact. But if you become a devotee initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, and you hear the Vedas, especially Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by a bona fide spiritual master, then you will understand. You simply read it, you will not understand. In fact, you'll get confused. Right? But if you hear it from a bona fide spiritual master on a regular basis, because repetition is absolutely important in spiritual life, because our disease is we forget things. You hear it, but then you forget it. So therefore, in the Vedic system, repetition is highly recommended, and it's not boring, because every time something is repeated, some extra amount of realization is given, and information is given to understand the points. So, therefore, it says, while decorating the body with tilaka, we give protection to the body by chanting 12 names of Vishnu. Although Govinda, or Lord Vishnu, is one, he has different names and forms with which to act differently. But if one cannot remember all the names at one time, one may simply chant Lord Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and always think of Lord Vishnu. Vishnur Aradhanam Param. This is the highest form of worship. And always think of Lord Vishnu. This is the highest form of worship. If one remembers Vishnu always, even though one is disturbed by many bad elements, one can be protected without a doubt. The Ayurveda Shastra recommends Oshadi Chintayet Vishnum. Even while taking medicine, one should remember Vishnu, because the medicine is not all in all, and Lord Vishnu is the real protector. The material world is full of danger. Padam padam yat vipadam. Therefore, one must become a Vaishnava and think of Vishnu constantly. This is made easier by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Kirtaniya Sada Hari, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, and Kirtanat Eva Krishna Sa Mukta Sangha Param Rajet. So then, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 6th chapter, verse 30. Sisuko Vacha iti pranaya badabir gopi bi kritarakshanam payayitva stanam mata sanya vaisayad atmajam. Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, all the gopis, headed by Mother Yasoda, were bound by material affection. After they thus chanted mantras to protect child Krishna, Mother Yasoda gave the child the nipple of her breast to suck and then got him to lie down on his bed. When a baby drinks milk from the breast of his mother, this is a good sign of health. So, the elderly gopis were not satisfied with chanting mantras to give protection to Krishna. They also tested whether their child's health was in order. When the child sucked the breast milk or the breast, this confirmed that he was healthy, and when the gopis were fully satisfied, they had the child lie down on his bed. So this is very important information if you want to be a mother and if you want to actually protect your child. The gopis were par excellent mothers because they knew the process of purifying their child from contamination and protecting the child by installing these mantras of protection for the child. So this is real culture. And the gopis were highly trained in this culture, the scientific culture of childbearing and child protection. Okay, so now we see the primary importance of the cow for having a peaceful, healthy, and spiritually progressive life. Because when you drink milk from cows that are protected and cows that are, especially to have that hump on their back, as the Desi cow does, because that hump has a nerve in it, and that nerve captures the energy of the sun and potentiates or makes powerful the stool, the urine, and especially the milk of the cow. So buying milk from cows that don't have the hump, which is the case in most Western cows, you don't get the same quality of milk as that of the Desi cow. So that's very important that we have the Desi cow milk. Very soon we will begin to milk all our Desi cows. And our herd is increasing now to the point where we can actually get their milk. The Desi cow does not give as much milk as the Western cows, but the quality of the milk is much superior. Now, fortunately, we do have the one breed of Western cows that gives almost exactly the same milk as the Desi cow, and that is the Guernsey cow, which is the original American pioneer family cow that was brought from the island of Guernsey off the coast of England. But, like I said, we will be milking our Desi cows, also our Gujarati Gir cows. Okay, so when a person drinks the milk from a cow that's being protected, then what happens? The finer brain cells become activated, and one becomes capable of understanding higher order spiritual knowledge. So it says the body can be maintained by any kind of foodstuff, but cow's milk is particularly essential for developing the finer tissues of the human brain so that one can understand the intricacies of transcendental knowledge. That's why I drink every day milk from our cows, because it develops these finer tissues in the brain to understand higher order spiritual concepts. If someone is eating meat, drinking beer and liquor, engaging in illicit activities, not only they're not interested in spiritual knowledge, but even if they hear it, they can't understand it because they're crippled by eating unbona fide things, and even the milk they drink is not bona fide because it's taken from cows that are going to be sent to the slaughterhouse, and it's every year in America, 36 million cows are killed, and every year in America, 55 billion different animals and fish, including cows, are eaten by Americans. So recently in 2015, then again 2018, two international organizations, the World Health Organization and the other one, the World Organization for Cancer Research, both came out and declared that eating meat causes cancer. It's no wonder that in America, where they're eating 55 billion animals a year in this country, that doesn't mean the whole world, just this country. There's more in India, right, because India has a much bigger population. 55 billion animals. It's no wonder that every year in America, over 600,000 people die of heart attacks, and over 600,000 people die of cancer. That's like over 1.2 million people are dying because of that consumption of meat and meat derivatives like processed meat, which is even worse than regular meat. Right? So it's no wonder that there's so much death in this country because, and not only this country, other countries too, including India, where meat eating is a common thing. And it was definitely recommended by Krishna 5,000 years ago. Don't do it. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. Krishna was teaching that right in the Bhagavad Gita, and it was even before that. People knew it. They didn't have to repeat it. They knew it naturally that you should not eat meat, engage in sense gratification, etc. But the culture has completely changed. The land of Dharma, India, is where the worst meat eating is going on now, and the worst illicit activities are going on. And in fact, Prabhupada explains, tomorrow we'll read this, but I'll just give a little hint about it. It's explained that the reason why India was invaded by the Muslims and subjugated by the Muslims is because of the deterioration of the purity of Sanatana Dharma, especially the establishment of the false Varnashram system based on birth rather than based on qualities and work. So the Brahmanas changed one word in Kali Yuga of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 13th verse says, Chaturvanya Mayashristam Gunakarma Vibhagasaha. So it says, Krishna, in the beginning of time, created the four orders or the four divisions of social orders, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, based on guna and karma, quality and work. The Brahmanas changed one word, and they said, Chaturvanya Mayashristam Janma Karma Vibhagasaha. They changed the word guru, they changed the word of quality to birth. So Chaturvanya Mayashristam Guna Karma. They changed guna to janma. And this is false. They basically contaminated the purity of the Bhagavad Gita by making that one change. And it's still being done today, or it's still in action today, and it's caused havoc in the Hindu religion, and therefore Hindus have deviated from Sanatana Dharma because of this divergence and contamination of the purity of the message of Bhagavad Gita. So because of that, the Muslims were able to conquer most of India, and now their population is increasing in India, and then you have the Christians now also, and then the Buddhists. So it's a mess because they're not following Bhagavad Gita as it is. They have purposely changed some words of the Bhagavad Gita and caused havoc in the purity of Sanatana Dharma. So, Srila Prabhupada and the real Vaishnava Acharyas are trying to rectify this and help people understand the real Bhagavad Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagasa, not Janma Karma Vibhagasa. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, as we read about the finer tissues of human brain.
Yeah.
So currently, so many people, they are like big leaders. They are very intelligent. So that is different than these finer tissues, because they are already very intelligent in material calculation.
Finer tissues to understand higher order spiritual knowledge.
Not the material things. Okay.
No, they can eat meat and maybe understand how to make a car or go to the moon or something. Of course, they never get to the moon, but they can try. But to understand Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, you would have to not only drink milk, but be completely surrendered and initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. And then hear the spiritual master's teaching based on the progressive understanding of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So there are mundane teachers. They eat meat and they teach things, you know. They teach we all come from monkeys and everything started with a big bang and everything is relative and there's no God and there's nothing after death. Yeah, they can teach those things because you don't have to have finer tissues in your mind to teach that type of nonsense. But to teach Sanatana Dharma, you have to have a highly evolved brain to capture these esoterical principles and to explain them in simple language to the public. So, therefore, it's not surprising that eating meat causes cancer and heart attacks and diabetes and all these diseases. Those things were not present in India before all this degradation began. People were very healthy. They would live to be 100, 110, 120 years old, still working and still healthy because they were drinking fresh milk from their cows. They were eating fresh vegetables and grains from their fields. And they had a simple life. They didn't have television. They didn't stay up late. As soon as it would become dark, they would go to sleep. And then as soon as the sun would come up, they would wake up. Or oftentimes they would wake up before the sun comes up in the Brahma Muhurta. And they would chant their rounds, and they would come to the temple for Mangala Aarti and pray to Krishna. And then they would go to the fields and work honestly. So you see, everything has changed, right? Especially since the outsourcing started. So now people stay up all night outsourcing for America and Europe, and then they go to sleep during the day, and on the way home in the early morning, they go to the bar. The bars are open almost 24 hours now in India, and they drink some liquor so they can go to sleep better. And in a small village now in Tamil Nadu or Andhra, there are 3 liquor shops in a small village. That's how bad the situation has become, right? Where that never was like that. And they're smoking, they're drinking, they're engaging in illicit sex, and they're eating meat. This is a very, very dangerous situation. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So there is a big art how to raise a child and keep the child healthy. This was practiced by the gopis, and we can learn it today. The information is in the 10th canto, 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. 10th canto, 6th chapter, starting with verse 19. This transcendental way of rearing your child so that they're always protected by the Lord and always healthy. Haribol. Okay, so who's going to sing Guru Puja? What time is it now? 7:20. Okay. Where's the pujari? Go ahead.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bandho Mui Savadana Mate
Bandho Mui Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasade Bai Ebhavatoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy De Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy De
Krishna Prapti Hoya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Koriya Aikya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Goriya
Arana Koriha Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Utama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Udamagati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha
Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asa
चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते वेद गाय जहाँ रचरित ಸಿಂಧು ಆದಮ ಜನರ ಬಂಧು लोकेनाथ लोकेर जीवाना हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया एबे जास गो शुक्रे भुवाना श्रीला प्रभुपाद पतित पावना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि भक्तवृंद चैतन्य नित्यानंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajagicha Astatara Satarishi Shishimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Yamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premananda All glories to Samaguru All glories to Samaguru All glories to Samaguru All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of devotees. O Lokit, O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your famous bread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet, Srila Prabhupada.